very honored dignitaries, spiritual leaders, parliamentarians and government representatives, dear co-chairs, Your Excellency Prime Minister Samdech Hun Sen of the Kingdom of Cambodia, and Your Excellency Ban Ki-moon, former Secretary General of the United Nations. Special greetings also to the co-leader of this global movement for peace, Dr. Hak Ya Han Moon. With rising tensions in different parts of the globe, a wave of rising autocrats and a planet which is heating, this year, more than any other year, we must speak loudly and clearly for peace and justice in the Korean Peninsula and Asian Pacific, but also in the eastern front of Europe and the Balkan Peninsula. On July 27, 1953, 69 years ago, in the land of the morning calm, on a sweltering summer day in the village of Panmunjom, the generals signed their names to an agreement before them, the Armistice Agreement, which brought the 3-year war that took millions of lives to an end. The ideology which divided the world in the last century divided the Koreans as well. Those who till yesterday were family, neighbors and friends suddenly became enemies, entrenched in ideological contrasts which separated people from one another and led them into a brutal war against each other. A war that carved deep hatred and polarizing scars. Although divided, Koreans have known peace for nearly 70 years. Yet, peace is not merely the absence of war or of visible conflict, but the presence of true justice. A just peace with human and civil rights, with freedom of media and freedom of speech, and with an independent judiciary, but also with economic rights and a welfare state that works for everyone, regardless of nationality, religion, or gender. Despite the cruelty and suffering in the world, what remains true throughout history is that the longing for freedom stirs in every human heart. The ability to speak our minds, have a say on how we are governed and live, how we choose, are not ideas confined to certain people and certain countries, but they are universal in nature. So we must have faith in peace and justice, and saying so is not a call to cynicism, but a recognition of history. As the South Korean Nobel Peace Laureate Kim Dae-chun recalls, in 1980, I was sentenced to death by the military regime. For 6 months in prison, I awaited the execution day. Often, I shuddered with fear of death. But I would find calm in the fact of history that justice ultimately prevails. Unfortunately, there are still those who keep grasping on to the ideas of the past century in search of fulfillment of some long-held ambitions for hegemony and domination. They intend to take us back to those dark times of history, but we cannot go back, nor will we succumb to autocrats and dictators who suppress freedoms and oppress the people. We must seek lasting peace in the Korean Peninsula, but also in the Balkan Peninsula. History reminds us that conflicts don't resolve on their own if we just ignore them, and peace requires hard work and acceptance of responsibility. Reverend Moon teaches us that peace flourishes where there is justice, and justice requires repentance which must be accompanied by restitution. We must never forget these lessons, for they are lessons of history. Recognizing this fact, South Korea was among the first countries who recognized our independence, for which we are grateful, and in the near future, we seek to advance our bilateral relations. So it is only appropriate that during this forum, I use the opportunity to call on all peace-loving nations who still have not recognized our independence to do so with a sense of urgency. This is the only way to contribute to a lasting peace in the Balkan Peninsula. The people of Kosovo and of South Korea share a similar past of suffering under occupation and of struggle for freedom. We are among rare peaceful people who were invaded often, fought continuously against invaders, but we've never invaded others, and we survived the genocidal attempts for our extermination. The color white dominates in our Albanian traditional clothes, white as the snow on mountain peaks, and a generous and peaceful spirit. And we live in harmony, although many religions find place in our society. Our ethnic and religious coexistence is nurtured in our culture for centuries. Among our people, you find a church and a mosque side by side, ringing the bell and calling the azan. Our two people are far from each other geographically, but we are closer more than we know substantially. Freedom means and seeks peace. And to attain lasting peace, all of us must do our part wherever we are. Thank you.